Simanto. Today we will learn how to connect Java with MySQL database and we'll learn how to build a dynamic web project using Java. So without wasting time, let's start. So for this project we will require the below components. The components are Eclipse. We require the Eclipse to code MySQL database. Apache Tomcat will run in the browser, and there is a jar file which is required. Okay, so let's start. So we quickly go to our Eclipse. Here we will create one dynamic project. So we can create a dynamic project here. We'll create a dynamic project. Let's the name will be like web dynamic project. We have created one dynamic project. Now next, and we will create a generate web XML deployment descriptor and finish it. Now we can see the two important sections. One is Java resource, where we can create our connection class, and this web container where we will create all the JSP files. Okay, so before doing anything, let's go to database and create one schema, and we'll create one table. So to create schema in database, so this is MySQL workbench. You can see here MySQL workbench. So we can create one schema using this icon. We can make one schema name. So here web dynamic db. So my database name is web dynamic database db. So now apply, and now apply. So you can see it has been, my web dynamic db has been created. So now I close it. Now inside this schema we'll create one table and we'll push some data into it. So let's create one table. So for the time being I have already written the code, so this is very simple. So just I'm copy pasting so that will not take much time. So you can see we'll create one. So you can see here we are creating one table with the name is user table, where user ID, name, password and address are the fields, where my primary key is user ID and it will be auto incremented by 101. Okay, so now let's run this code. So you can see it has been run successfully. So if you can refresh it, we can see that the table has been created here. You can see user table created. Now let's insert some data. So for that we use the insert command, insert into db. So we can use it. Now you can see here we are inserting the data into user, where the first one is auto increment. You can see that's why it is taking as null. Now we use one test one, then password, and then there is a address field. So let's insert this data. Let's insert two more data. Test 2, password is same. Insert. That's the third one. We can change something to value. Okay. Now we can run. So we can, now we have the three data. Let me see. So if you can check out of the data, so we can see there is the user ID is 101, 102, 3. So this is incremented using 101 incrementation. So that's why the first ID is 101, and so on 102, 103. And you can see user ID is primary key and it is also auto increment. So no need to provide. So it is, that's why we are using null. So this way we have created one database. My database name is wave dynamic DB. Okay, now let's use this in our code. So back to our Eclipse. In our Eclipse, we first create one connection provider class. So first inside SRC, we create one package. That's the package name will be project. Okay, project package. So we'll create it. Now we can create one class. So inside this project, we can create one class called connection provider class. You can finish it. So you can see connection provider class is already been created. So for the sake of time, I have already created the code. I will paste out and I will let you know what all these things. So I'm copying it, I'm pasting it here. So what we are doing here, we are importing the SQL and IO, and then in the connection provider class we are configuring these things like host, db host, port, username and password. Okay, so this time we are using this as a hard coded, but later on we can use it through property file as well. Okay, so here we created one connection method. Okay, it's a type of connection. So in this method what we are doing, we are calling this, we are registering this driver. So this is, since we are using this because of MySQL database we are using, so for different database this parameters should be different. Okay, so if you want to know what are the parameters for other database, so simply you go to this Copilot. Once you go to Copilot, okay, once you go to Copilot, you will see, you'll paste this like write the parameter. To use class for name for all types of database. So now it will, you can see it will provide you like for MySQL, this is the this is the parameter class for name. This is for Postgres. You can see for every different database the parameters should be different. So you can check this. Okay, now let's go to back to our code. So now in this connection, we created, so we created one object for of connection where we are we are calling like driver manager dot get connection. In this connection get connection method we are passing all the required details of the database, like we are passing the db host, db port, then the database name, then username and the password. Okay, so this way we are creating one connection object and we are returning the connection object here. Okay, and we are using is inside try and catch, because if there is any exception it will catch or it will stuck into between. That's why we are handling this inside try catch. So basically this getCon class, this getCon method will we will call and it will return the connection. Okay, so we have created. Now this is the main connection class which can connect to the database. Now let's see, since I am using the locally database, so I am using this localhost as a DB host. Now the port is 3306 for MySQL and the database username is root and my password is as well root. Now the DB name, just we have created our DB. The DB name is like wave dynamic DB. So let's change this. So our DB name we have passed. So we have saved this. Now we can create one JSP file in this web container. So let's quickly create one JSP file. The file name will be index.jsp. So now why we are creating this index.jsp? Because if you go to this web INF container, there is a web.xml file. If you open it, so you can see the file which will be like index.html, index.htm or index.jsp. Those files will be called first. Okay, so that's why we are creating our first file as index.jsp. So inside this, I've also created that for the sake of time. So in this, what we are doing first, let's copy it and we can paste it over here. So now what we are doing actually, so you can see the main code is from here. So we are creating one form. Okay, so in this form what we are doing, we are passing two input field where one is called user ID and another is called password. Okay, which will be filled by user, it's the input type, and the form will do like after clicking the submit button, it will call a post method and it will redirect to login action.jsp file. Okay, that means once it has been filled by the user, and also you can see here the type is required, we have mentioned this as a required type, that means user have to fill out that. Okay, so similarly in this case, so user ID and password should not be blank, it will be automatically checked. So that is it. Now in the form there is a submit button. If anyone can fill out those information and submit, it will go to this post method and it will try to redirect to this login action.jsp page. Okay, so this way this will be told. Yes, now let's run this code, how it will look like. So we will run using our tomcat. So now run on server using tomcat. It will take some time, so keep patience. So now you can see we are getting two input field, as one is user ID and one is enter password. So you can see these are placeholders which is already there. You can see enter, so here placeholder is enter user ID, placeholder enter password. So if you can see here, it is coming up with the enter user ID and enter password. So user had to fill out this. Suppose it is not filled by the user, then it will it will ask this required field, so user should be able to fill out. Okay, let me see again. So both are in red. Okay, so now let's go to our code again. Here after submitting, it will look for this login. So let's see, there is any ID we have put anything. Now if we click on login, so you can see the file is not found. Which file? That is login action.jsp, which is actually calling by the submit button. So let's quickly go to this web content and then again create new JSP file which is called login action. Okay, so login action JSP has been created. Let's copy this entire and I will paste it over here. So now we can see what is there in code. So first of all, you can see we have imported the SQL and we have imported the connection provider. Okay, so it is important. we are importing the project.connection provider from this. Okay, so that it will connection, we can call this connection from over here. Okay, so now see, we have created one user id and password string type. Okay, and we are we are getting this request.get parameter user id from the from here. So from here, you whatever user id and password user can fill out, we can get it over here. Okay, using this command called request.get parameter. So user id can be saved in this user id, and the password will be saved over this password. Okay, now we are calling this, we are creating one object for this connection provider class, and by using this object, okay, we are first creating this object using this connection provider class. Okay, now we are creating connection object con, and through this connection provider object, we are calling our function method called getCon. Okay, so once we called out, so it will return the connection. As you can see, once this getCon will be, this method will be calling from here, so it will return one connection. So this connection will be stored in on. Okay, so now we can create one statement. So through statement, we can create one st, that is object of this statement, and we can use this connection to create our statement. Okay, now we are creating one result set. Okay, rs, where we can execute the query. So the query we can create directly pass through here. Okay, so the query is like select star from user id, where and means user id which user will be passed. Okay, so user id, where user id is equal to this, so select star from users table, where user id is user id provided by the user and password provided by the password. Okay, so this result set, whatever the result will come, it will saved under rs. Okay, so rs is the object for result set. Now in the next thing, we are just checking whether rs is present or not. Okay, if rs is present, we will redirect them to another JSP called success.jsp. If it is not present, we'll redirect it to error.jsp. So I guess you got the clarity. Like this, very simple. We are taking those user ID and password over here from the previous page, and we are calling these connections from this Java connection provider Java. Okay, and we are creating one statement. Okay, and we are executing a query. The query will be like select star from user, where user id provided by the user and password provided by the user. Okay, if this match, we will take the result set and we'll save it the rs, then we'll check if rs.next is present, then we'll redirect the page to success. If it will not present, we'll redirect it to error page. So this way we can check whether connection is getting established or not. Okay, so now since there is a success.jsp and error.jsp page, we redirecting, so we need to create one success.jsp. So let's quickly create one another JSP called success.jsp. So here, what we will create in the body, I just was passing one message, you are successfully logged in. Okay, and The second one, we need to create one error.jsp. Let's again create JSP. So in this, we will just type a message, user ID, password, it's not correct. Correct. Try again. Okay. So we'll save it. Oh, so we'll save it. So here the error page will comes up with like user ID and password is not correct. Try again. And in the success, it will mention like you are successfully logged in, and this page will be calling according to the result set. If the user exists in the database, and provided if the user ID and password exists in the database, then it will call this. If it is not there, or any other user ID password has been provided apart from this database entry, so it will redirect to error. So now I think it's clear. Now let's see our code. So let's run again. So you can see our user ID and password is. So if we go to our table, here we can see the user ID is 101, password we are keeping the same for all those, test at the rate 123. So we'll start with 101. Let's see. And the password we can provide. Now in this case we can see this, there is an error that is called com.mysql.cg JDBC driver. So this is not class not found exception. So that means during the registration this driver is not able to found that class. So how it will get? So we need to put the JDBC jar file. So for that, let's copy the jar file. So I have one MySQL connected jar. Okay, that's 8.0.21 jar file. So I will copy it and let's paste it into our code. So we need to paste inside web container. There is a web inf. Inside that there is a lib. You can see over here. So inside lib, if we can paste, so now you can see this is MySQL connected is already present in here. Now let's run the code again. So I'll stop it. Let's make it stop. Now let's run the code again. So it will take some time. Now you can see it's up. Now if we enter 101 and the password is @123, if we try to log in, you can see you are successfully logged in. That means in this code, in index.jsp, when we submit this, it is passing to login.jsp. Now in this login action.jsp, so user ID and password can be taken. It is checking this to the database. If it is coming in the rs, here it is checking if rs.next means if there is rs present, so it will redirect to this. So that means right now it is redirecting to this. That means 101 and the password is matches, so that it is redirecting. Now let's go back and refresh it. Now if we same 101 user, but the password, let's this time will be something different. Okay, Now login. So it is saying user ID and password is not correct. Try again. So we can understand in this way we can check whether the data which is we are checking from the database, if it is true and it is we will redirect it to some success JSP. If it is false, we redirect it to some error JSP. Okay, let's again test with some different, even different data, different user ID. Okay, let's test. So you can see it is not going. Let's again test with some correct one. This time 103. Now the test at the rate 123. If we can log in, you can see it's working fine. So this way we can connect our Java with MySQL database. So that's all for the session. In the next video, we'll see how to retrieve data from database, modify and delete data. So stay tuned and I will share the document link in description. Comment if there is any question related to this video in comment section. Please share this with your friend. Thank you.